What would you do if you knew you were going to die in a week? Maybe that question makes you uncomfortable.
It does most of us. Our society has a real phobia around talking about death, in planning for it, in accepting it. Maine has had a death with dignity or medically aided dying law for a little more than a year now. But people in the medical community here who have elected to participate, who believe in offering terminal patients the option to end their suffering when they are ready, are reticent to talk about it. Fortunately, one patient was not. Eric Carlson contacted me last spring when the law was being debated. He was staring down a terminal illness with an awful end. He wasn't sure he would choose this option, but he wanted the choice, and eventually he seized it. We caught up with him and his loved ones in Edgecombe last month with his self-imposed countdown ticking. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel pretty good now.
For Eric Carlson, the last 19 months have been a terrifying ride, one that started with numbness in his arm.
And they sent me for an MRI to see if if I pinched a nerve in my neck, and it came back just a strawberry-sized brain tumor, just right here.
It was a stage 4 glioblastoma. These tumors have tentacles that worm their way through the brain. Surgery will never get all of them.
It just came just out of nowhere that fast, which was crazy.
A devastating diagnosis for a rugged outdoorsman who jumped into wildfires out west, then ran a forestry business here for the last 30 years. Surgery, chemo, radiation, physical therapy. It was exhausting. But by summer, Eric felt better, knowing he was terminal, though not fully accepting it.
The only thing you can do is just live your life.
And he did. He took his daughters to visit relatives in Sweden.
It was no longer, oh, this would be such a fun thing to do. I hope we get to do that. It was, we're doing this.
Eric took his partner Stephanie to the Caribbean, his best buds on hunting trips, and taught his nephew how to fish. He danced and embraced the things and people he loved.
I was 100% sure in my mind, like I was the anomaly.
But cancer had other plans. This past summer, Eric started having seizures. He lost his balance, some cognitive function, and his driver's license. Another tumor had formed. More surgery, treatment, hospitalization. As Eric puts it, he was back on the hamster wheel.
You're just back in this, this crummy fair ride that you can't get off of.
But this time around was different. Eric was in tremendous pain. Reality closed in. The final decline had begun.
There's really no happy ending with it.
Aware of Maine's death with dignity law, Eric, with Stephanie by his side, broached the subject with his doctors.
I was a little bit worried when we first called that we were going to have to try to sell this. Like they were interviewing us whether they were going to give us our mortgage or not.
Nothing could have been further from the truth. He says his doctors made it clear they were supportive of whatever choice he made around how and when he wanted to die. No longer able to work in the woods, to hunt, to dance, Eric felt he was losing the things that made him him.
I don't want just days. I want to be me and do the things I want to do and be able to do. So it was clear to me then that that train was leaving the station pretty quickly.
He debated it for some time. Then one night his decision became crystal clear. It was time to stop the hamster wheel for him and for his family.
I've had a harder time picking out which hot fudge sundae to get, it was so clear, like, this is it.
He put in his formal request, got a second opinion confirming he had 6 months or less, saw a psychologist who declared him of sound mind, completed 2 waiting periods, and then, as his decline got worse, he set a date, 8 days after this interview.
I know that it's the right decision for him. He hasn't wavered.
There's just an absolute peacefulness to it where, all my affairs are in order, everything's done, and now you can plan for the positive things.
I'm never going to really lose who he is. and all of my memories of him will be exactly who he is.
And we all just come together and we joke around and we make sure, everything is the same as it always has been.
So what do you do with your last 8 days?
We're just going with the flow so far.
His best friend helped Eric get back in his beloved Skidder for one last ride, the fun kind. This was Eric's last day. Surrounded by family, he took his prescription and drifted off, one day after celebrating his 50th birthday. Eric was determined to share his story so that others know about this option. Opponents of the law were concerned that there would be this mad rush by terminal patients to take advantage of it. It appears that has not happened. One person used death with dignity in 2019. The state, by law, cannot release statistics on this year until March of next year. But Valerie Lovelace, who runs Maine Death with Dignity, knows of only 4 cases this entire year. Her organization helps patients find doctors who participate, and she says while there are some issues with access in places, overall implementation of the law has gone smoothly. And the law has gotten a lot of support, she says, from the medical community. Still, it's not something those doctors, even Eric's doctors, are eager to talk about. Eric had given all of his doctors permission to speak with me. After he died, they all bailed. Lovelace says she's not surprised.
I mean, I try to stand in those shoes and think of what it might be like to suddenly be publicly identified as the go-to doctor if you want to die when you're terminally ill, and how that might affect your practice or how it might affect the way your colleagues look at you, or, so I sort of get that. It's difficult.
One other note, Eric and his family sing the praises of the amazing hospice workers who worked with Eric's doctors and were a tremendous source of support. We've got a lot more information on Death with Dignity on our website, and we'll be right back.